In solo leveling after the Jeju raid, there was plenty of noise everywhere. The Jeju raid was Jin Woo's first official raid after becoming an S-rank hunter. However, he couldn't avoid criticism for joining the raid later than expected. There were people who supported him, but not many, since it was true that people were sacrificed. As Jin walks back Yoon-ho tells him that he didn't believe a lone hero could end a war by themselves. But after what happened this time, maybe he was wrong. Baek tells Jin to hold his head high, as he was the one who ended this tragic tale. Jin and Hunter Cha make eye contact, but she quickly turns away, blushing, throwing the Jeju hero off. In total, 4,801 hunters participated. 727 of them were just ordinary awakened people. 64 hunters and 32 civilians died during the raid. Jin and Chairman Go Gun-hee sit down, and the chairman asks Jin if he plans on starting a guild, telling him that people with S-rank hunter licenses don't need a guild master permit. All they need to do is give the association a call. Jin says yes, and thinks that he should take this time to learn about the advantages of being an S-rank. But before he can say anything, Gun-hee asks if he put some sort of barrier on Jeju Island. This confuses Jin. However, the chairman explains that there was an incident of people passing out when they went to take care of the ants and collect magic crystals. Jin tells the chairman that he didn't do anything like that and asks what the people said. Gun-hee tells him that they couldn't remember anything that happened before they passed out at all, and they don't even know if they were attacked by magic or not. One of the chairman's personnel interrupts and tells him that the guest has arrived earlier than normal. The chairman thanks Jin for his time before excusing himself, and Jin thinks he should head back too. As Jin gets to his vehicle, a man asks if he is Sung Jin Woo, introducing himself as Senior Agent Adam White from the United States Bureau of Hunters. He tells Jin that he came by the office but was unable to find him, so he had to come to the funeral. In this moment, Jin remembers Jin-ho telling him about a foreigner. Jin asks why he wants to meet with him, and Adam responds that there is some information he wants to give to the hunter. He tells Jin that he won't hear this information from any other country or institute that exists. The hero hunter asks why he's willing to give that kind of information to him, and Adam says there's even a benefit to them by revealing information only to certain people. He tells Jin that he was originally the only one to meet him, but the deputy director was touched by the Jeju raid and would like to meet in person, saying it's a rare case and the deputy director will tell him the rest. He adds that he prepared a car not far from here and asks if Jin would like to meet him. Jin dismisses it and prepares to get in his car as he tells the senior agent that he's not sure if the information is reliable and he'll give a call back after thinking about it. This is when Adam smirks, saying, "I almost forgot. In negotiations, the better card you hold, sometimes you shouldn't cover it up," and says, "Upgrader." He questions if Jin knows about the Awakener who can increase the ability of another Awakener. They arrive in the United States, and Jin meets the deputy director Michael Connor with Adam White as his translator. Michael says he'll be straightforward and puts immigration papers to America on the table, telling Jin it usually takes years to take care of, but for Jin Woo, it can happen in 1 second if he just says the word. Unfazed, Jin says that he came because the senior agent told him that he can earn information, asking if it's really possible to increase one's abilities. Michael smirks, telling him that the person is actually already here, as he tells the agents to escort Mrs. Sellner to the room. Mrs. Norma Sellner enters the room as Michael Connor introduces her to Jin Woo as the only person in the world who can help hunters exceed their power limit. Jin Woo notes that she has a different aura than other Awakeners. Michael asks Norma to explain her powers, and she tells Jin Woo that he probably can't believe it and that all the other hunters had eyes like his too. But once they experience it, they have no choice but to cling on. Norma reviews common hunter knowledge with Jin Woo, explaining that all Awakeners have a limit and no one can exceed it unless they are reawakened. However, she has the ability to help them surpass that limit by going through 3 stages. She's not sure whether to call it reawakening by force or raising their potential. Michael reassures Jin Woo that what she's saying is true, but once she uses her power, she needs to rest for a long time, so only a few Awakeners can can be chosen each year. Jin Woo asks about the efficiency of the ability, and Norma responds that it depends on the person, but after the third stage, they can potentially feel 20 or even 30% stronger. Jin Woo realizes why Hunter Huang Dong-soo moved to America despite the criticism. Who could refuse such an offer? Jin Woo states that if this ability leaks, it could cause major issues. Michael explains that's why Mrs. Sellner is with them. They ensure her safety and pay her a hefty amount in return for her help in elevating the hunters they select each year. The deputy director adds that her ability is the gift they are offering Jin Woo. Jin Woo comments that it sounds more like a deal than a gift. Michael Connor responds that if Jin Woo were to become a hunter of the United States, they would make sure he is the first to receive the benefits. And to create a deal with the best conditions for him, they'll make arrangements with the guild of his choice. Norma puts her hand on the table, assuring Jin Woo there's no rush and that they're only there to give him a taste. Jin Woo questions this, and Norma assures him that it is indeed a gift. Michael asks if Jin Woo agrees to unlock his potential at no cost. In this moment, Jin Woo thinks about her earlier statement that he wouldn't be able to let go once he experiences it, and she must be pretty confident in her ability. Norma takes Jin Woo's hands and tells him to look into her eyes, saying that's the first step. The deputy director smirks, thinking Jin Woo has fallen for it, believing that once he goes through the first stage, he will surely contact them again. He thinks about how Jin easily cleared the Jeju Island raid with an unheard-of ability, while Ryuji Goto, the man aiming for national-level hunter, failed. He questions where Jin's limit lies while Norma is taken inside the mysterious hunter, surrounded by bottomless darkness. She looks around and sees a face. Suddenly, the face looks back at her and she opens her eyes, screaming. The guards all point their guns at Jin Woo, questioning what he's done to the woman. But Michael quickly tells them to lower their guns, asking them if they know who the person in front of them is. Calling them morons, he tells them to go take care of Mrs. Sellner if they're so worried. Jin Woo sits flabbergasted as the deputy director tells the guards that if Thomas Andre or Liu Zhigang were sitting there, they'd all be dead right now. He then asks Norma what's wrong, but she's too shaken up to say anything. Michael tells Jin that Mrs. Sellner doesn't seem to be feeling well today and asks if they can contact Jin Woo another time before telling Adam to escort the hunter back home. After Jin Woo leaves, Michael asks Sellner what happened. She shakily states that Jin Woo is a very powerful king. This shocks Michael Connor as he asks if that means Jin Woo is on par with the national-level hunters. Sellner responds with, "No, I'm not sure," saying she's never experienced this before. He is a king, but not like the others. She explains that when she looked into him, he was also looking back at her. The shaken woman also says that it wasn't Sung Jin Woo, but rather the endless darkness inside of him. Stuttering, she adds, "And he does not have a limit." Chairman Go Gun-hee reflects on Byung-gu's sacrifice when he receives a call about a B-rank gate opening in the middle of the road. Knowing that a B-rank gate isn't something an average attack squad can handle, he decides to contact a large guild. However, he learns the location is near Jin Woo's new office. Jin Woo, wondering what Mrs. Sellner saw in him, notices the unusual traffic and receives a call from Chairman Go. The chairman informs him about the B-rank gate and asks if he can take care of it. Jin questions without permission, and the chairman laughs, saying that the permission comes from him and assures Jin Woo not to worry, thanking him for his help. As news stations cover the poorly positioned gate, an agent yells at a man before realizing it's S-rank hunter Sung Jin Woo. The civilians grow excited, and there's an Easter egg referencing Alex Armstrong from Full Metal Alchemist. The agent tells Jin that even though he's an S-rank, he still has to follow the rules and can't be let in without enough people, even with permission. Jin Woo calls the chairman, explaining the situation, and gives the phone to the nervous agent who asks who it is. Jin says someone you can't ignore, and the agent, realizing it's the chairman, swiftly takes the phone while Jin Woo enters the gate. The agent wishes for Jin Woo to trip and hurt himself, and suddenly the gate's color changes to red, shocking the agent as he questions if his wish caused it. The gate, Jin is unfazed and notes it feels like a red gate, thinking he might have to overdo himself. In a flashback, Jin Woo's mother tells him they can't do anything about the awakening, and as an S rank, he will have to save many lives like his father once did. She explains that Jin Woo's father was a firefighter, and she fell in love when she saw him saving people. She asked Jin not to overdo himself, and Jin is relieved his mom wasn't against all of this. Jin Woo says this won't be too much and he'll finish this within a day. His lower-level shadows charge, while the mages cast spells, causing explosions among the monsters. The rest of the shadows join the battle, with Igris shoving his blades into one monster's face and Iron crushing another. Tusk and Tank roar, while Beru does the same. Jin Woo's shadows kneel as he walks through, saying, "Let's move on to the next target." A hunter catches his breath before questioning, "What are you?" as the same monster from after the Jeju raid responds. He's not one either. They're hiding cleverly, the fragments of brilliant light. The blue grandpa senses something and turns to see Yogament, who explains he's here to deliver information about the territory in the east. The blue grandpa clarifies, "If you mean the small territory in the east, that's where the Shadow Monarch is," and asks, "Didn't you say you'd take care of that place?" Yogament tells the blue monster that it seems like the rulers are going to release Legia south of there, so he'll take that place. He adds that as long as the architect fulfills its role, there won't be a problem. Yogament also mentions some interesting news, as it's been confirmed that the greatest fragment of brilliant light is there. The blue grandpa chuckles, finding it interesting that Yogament came here to tell him that. Yogament asks what he'll do about it, and the grandpa responds, "If you're willing to yield that to me, then by all means. But more importantly, it looks like we were lured here. They say a guy like that couldn't possibly have a fragment of brilliant light," as a hooded man steps closer, surmising he's here to get in their way. The hooded man questions if by the small territory in the east, they mean Korea. The blue man questions why it's of any interest to him, and Yogament tells the Monarch of Frost that he doesn't think he has time to play around. The Frost Monarch tells the man to try and stop them if he can as they begin walking through a gate. The man summons daggers and charges at him, saying, "I won't let you escape," slashing at the Monarch, who blocks with an ice barrier. The blue grandpa grins as the man looks with determined grit, and a massive explosion happens. Back in the red gate, a monster questions if Jin is the one who's been killing all of his brothers, calling him impressive for not only reaching this point, but also being able to speak their language. He adds, however, this is the end, and screams, "Our comrades are already lying in wait. Come out!" However, no one comes out, and the boss sits blank. Jin says, "Sure, that's funny," and orders his shadow army to come out, commenting that it looks like there's nobody left. In this moment, the boss gets hit in the head and catches the object, opening his hand to see a head. It's revealed Beru threw the head as he has a whole collection. The monster calls Jin a bastard before Jin orders, "Kill them!" His shadows charge, blowing through the tribal monsters. Jin walks towards the boss as two of his guards dash toward him. However, Tank effortlessly slashes them out of the way. The boss yells, and in this moment, Beru and Igris simultaneously attack. Beru claws the monster's arm off, and Igris cuts his leg clean off, bringing the beast to the ground. Tusk uses Hymn of Giants before activating his gravitational magic to smash the monster into the ground. Jin walks closer to the monster, saying, "Answer my questions. It'll be less painful for you if you do." Unfortunately, Jin didn't learn anything this time either, as he concludes that the system is definitely interfering. As he reaches into his inventory, he says it's fine because he'll learn everything with time anyway. Jin pulls out the key he got from the cursed magic box, noting that the key's information will be partially revealed since he met the requirements once he reached level 100 during the Jeju Island raid. Jin learns the name of the key and its use, which allows him to enter the Kartanon Temple, which will be revealed to him after a predetermined time. Jin Woo says he couldn't forget the Kartanon Temple even when he tried. He thinks about the double dungeon. As he stands in front of all the system panels, he comments that it's calling out to him again, to where it all began. But things have changed this time. If this was planned from the beginning, if it's waiting for him to return, in that case, wait for me. I'm coming. Jin-ho angrily clicks on his computer, cursing the trolls and vowing never to forgive anyone slandering Jin Woo's name. He leans back, taking a breath after dealing with another group that was slandering Jin Woo, when suddenly Jin Woo appears, telling Jin-ho he's been working hard. Jin-ho thinks about how Jin Woo just comes and goes without a sound, and Jin asks if anything happened, to which Jin-ho responds no, but asks why Jin looks all raggedy. Handing a bag full of greater magic crystals to him, Jin Woo tells Jin-ho that he just just got out of a gate and asks Jin Ho about needing money to start the guild. The keyboard warrior questions if it was a high-ranked gate he cleared and praises Jin Woo, adding that with this, they won't have to worry about paying the employees' salaries. Jin questions this, and Jin Ho reminds him that they need 3 members to start a guild. Jin Woo tells his vice guild master that even if it's just to fill the spot, someone diligent would be nice, since they'll be seeing the person more than once. He then asks if that's all, but Jin Ho says there's one more thing they need to take care of. This leaves Jin bamboozled as Jin Ho questions if he's decided on a guild name. Jin Woo agrees that he thought it was important, and Jin Ho assures him that it's very important, suggesting the name Sung Yu Guild after their last names, or maybe the Yu Sung Guild. But Jin Ho wouldn't dare have his name before Jin Woo's. He also thinks maybe the Woo Ho Guild after the last characters in their names, or even the Jin Guild using their middle name. Jin Woo shocks his vice guild master when he says, "How about solo play guild?" Since their guild is based on solo hunting anyway. Jin Ho turns and questions if that was supposed to be funny, thinking that it seems there are things that even Jin Woo is not good at either. In this moment, they get a knock at the door. Jin Ho opens it, and the voice asks if this is Sung Jin Woo's guild office, to which Jin Ho responds, "Yes, but who?" Before he finishes, he's startled to see S-rank hunter Cha Hae-in standing in the doorway. Jin asks why she's at his office, and she tells him she wants to join his guild. After sitting down, Jin asks the hunter to clarify, and she restates that she wants to join the guild. Jin Woo is dumbfounded as to why she would want to do this. He questions if the chairman put her up to this, or Choi Jong-in kicked her out of his clan, to which she answers no. Jin asks, "Then why is it you would want to join our solo play guild?" Absolutely disgusted, Hunter Cha questions the guild's name, and Jin Woo tells her it's the name they agreed on. However, Jin Ho interjects, questioning if the guild name has already been decided, and asks about his suggestions. Jin Woo responds that the vice guild master didn't say anything, so he thought he agreed. However, Jin thinks to himself that it'd be better to calm down as his judgment is being clouded by the situation at hand. Jin Woo notices that by her heartbeat, breathing, and expression, Cha is trying to act calm, but she can't fool Jin Woo. He questions why she would be doing all this to join their solo play guild. He responds that she has the money to pay the contract breach penalty. Jin Woo notes that she's even willing to pay the penalty to join, before telling her that his guild doesn't have the resources to pay a hunter of her level. But she says it doesn't matter, and she doesn't need the signing bonus either. The guild master asks Hunter Cha why she would go through such great lengths to join their guild, and tells her there's nothing for her to gain here. She thinks about how she could explain, thinking that he'd just call her crazy even if she did. At first, she was drawn by his scent, led out of curiosity, even when she told herself not to worry about it or think she had the time to. He was the only light in this dark world. She was afraid, nervous, even thought she might die. But Jin Woo saved her. While thinking about how to tell him, she has a meltdown right in front of the man, leaving him guessing what's up her sleeve. He questions why she can't answer and notes that seeing her blush like that, she's definitely hiding something. He asks the flustered woman if she will answer his question, and she spits out that she wants to live comfortably. Jin Ho whispers that that's definitely not it, and Jin Woo thinks that Cha is only 22 or 23 years old, and the burden of being an S-rank hunter must be heavy. On top of that, she was in rough shape after the Jeju raid. He empathizes with her situation but tells her there's actually an entrance test for the guild. This baffles Cha as she says that it wasn't in the recruiting notice. Jin Woo responds that it's a new policy and the vice guild master must have made a mistake. He then tells Jin Ho to go grab some drinks and snacks for the guest, and Hunter Cha asks what kind of test it is. Jin tells her it's to beat the summoning of his choice. Cha responds, questioning if his evaluation of her is that low, and asks which summon. The guild master responds, "For you, Hunter Cha, I will pick the strongest." And after Hunter Cha declares she wants to join Jin Woo's guild, she asks when they can proceed with the entrance test. Jin suggests they can do it immediately at the association's gymnasium. At this moment, he considers testing if his shadow exchange skill can transport 2 people. As Cha prepares to walk out the door, Jin Woo stops her, saying there's an easier way to get there, but they'll have to stay close together. The Rizzler wraps his arm around the blushing blushing hunter and uses shadow exchange. Shadows envelop them, pulling them into the floor. Meanwhile, Jin Ho walks into the room to see an orc staring back at him. Frozen, he watches the orc grab the dish from his hand and eat the whole thing in a single bite. The lights turn on in the gymnasium as Jin Woo and Hunter Cha arrive. Cha is astonished by the teleportation. Jin Woo thinks to himself, I was right. Realizing the shadow exchange works like a gate, his location becomes the entrance, while his shadow becomes the exit. The cooldown might be 3 hours, but with this skill, Jin Woo can travel anywhere in the world. Jin Woo says, let's begin, but Cha remembers she forgot her weapon. Jin questions, the pickaxe? Totally embarrassed, she blushes, remembering that was the first weapon he saw her use. Cha tells him that's not her weapon, and he laughs, telling the hunter he was just joking. Still blushing, she says there should be a decent weapon in the storage room. Unlocking the door with her card, she announces the weapons aren't great, but suitable for sparring. I'm ready, she says, walking out with a sword. Jin Woo asks if she's okay with it, noting it's not her regular sword and may not suit her. She responds that it doesn't matter what weapon she uses because monsters don't fight on equal terms anyway. Jin Woo agrees, thinking if he called an ordinary soldier they would be torn apart in seconds. He then summons Igris, saying he's the best swordsman among his soldiers. Cha asks how they will decide the match, and Jin tells her that they'll fight until she can destroy his summon or she surrenders. Though he told Hunter Cha he'd use his strongest summon, he thinks fighting Beru would be too traumatic. Cha Hai-in prepares for battle when Jin suddenly remembers that she said weapons don't matter and asks if Cha can turn around while he consults with a clueless Igris. This is when he bestows Igris with the S-rank Demon King's longsword. Now let's begin, he says, and this arc continues. Follow for more. Igris walks towards Cha and slashes, sending a storm of white lightning towards the hunter. However, she dodges with ease. Jin Woo observes her speed, noting that a normal person would have died even if he just grazed them. Cha clashes blades with Igris, and in this moment, Chairman Go notices the gym lights are on. There shouldn't be any reservations today, he mutters. He calls his assistant and asks if they could direct the gymnasium camera feed to his room. As he watches the footage of Jin Woo and Hunter Cha arriving in the gym, he asks, when did these two before he remembers the Jeju raid and recalls how Cha had woken up blushing and asking about Jin Woo. Realizing what's happening, he instructs his assistant to turn off all the cameras in the gymnasium and make a note that there was an inspection today. As expected, it's good to be young. Back in the gym, Jin Woo is shocked as Igris lies defeated. Hunter Cha asks if the Black Knight was really his strongest summon. Didn't you say you'd call out your strongest summon? Please, summon him. Jin Woo looks at her with concern as he warns, you might get hurt. Cha responds with determination. It's fine. I wanted to fight him again. Surprised, Jin Woo questions. You knew? Cha tells him she saw it in person and on the videos. In this moment, Jin Woo calls forth Beru. Cha grows increasingly nervous as Beru's shadow rises. Jin Woo asks again, will you really be okay? After Jin summons Beru, we learn that shadow soldiers are weaker than when they were alive. However, Beru was specifically born to be a weapon for eliminating hunters. If they properly fight, Cha's odds aren't looking good. Beru asks what Jin Woo wants him to do with Hunter Cha, and he tells the ant to defeat her without harming her. Beru screeches, shattering all the windows in the gymnasium as Cha nervously questions, how did Jin fight this thing? Beru pulls out his claws, but Jin quickly interjects, put those away. I won't let you go if you hurt her. Beru retracts his claws while looking at Jin, and Cha sees an opening to attack. But Beru nearly teleports behind her once more. She turns around quickly, slashing her sword, questioning, do you think I'm going to fall for the same move twice? But Beru catches her blade, flicking it away, thinking, I only have one command. Defeat the enemy without hurting her. Realizing he needs to break her fighting spirit by demonstrating an overwhelming difference in power, he prepares for a simple task. Cha stabs at Beru, but he easily dodges. She goes for another stab, but the monster also dodges that. Not yet, she thinks, and slashes at him. However, Beru plays limbo with her blade, shocking Cha as he's dodged all of her attacks without even moving his feet. This is when he closes in on her, roaring in the hunter's face and pushing her back with only his insane magical pressure. Jin Woo remarks, it looks like the winner is decided. Are you satisfied now? However, determined, Cha responds, I can keep going. This puzzles Jin as he asks himself why she's trying so hard, saying he he thought she would have given up after realizing the power difference. Beru is different from the other shadow soldiers. Even with his intellect, his nature is to be a murder machine. If she's aiming for something, I hope it's not poor judgment. Anger wells within Beru as with a single glance. Living organisms realize whether they are predator or prey. Yet Cha resists. He dashes at the hunter, swiping his claws, but she barely dodges, sliding out of the way as Beru digs his claws into the wall, preparing to attack once more. Hunter Cha uses her skill, Sword Dance, and this arc continues. Follow for more. In solo leveling, after Cha barely dodges Beru's claws, she uses her skill, Sword Dance, and jumps at the ant, slashing her sword. But Beru grabs it, shattering the blade. However, in this moment, Cha thinks to herself that this is her one chance, and she doesn't have enough mana, so she can only use it once, but that's all she needs. This is when she uses her skill, Blade of Light, and stabs the shadow soldier. But something is not right as Jin Woo screams, "No!" Because in this moment, a single command surfaces in Beru's mind. The single command he received from the queen after birth. Resurfacing as natural instinct, he couldn't ignore it. Exterminate the enemy! Beru prepares to slash Cha as Jin yells, "Stop!" while the ant's claws close in. Suddenly, a crash. As it's revealed, Jin Woo caught his hand, wowing Cha. While stepping on one hand and holding the other, he tells the ant, "I ordered you to stop." It quickly scuttles away while Jin asks if Hunter Cha is okay. Beru begs for mercy, and the Shadow Master lets out a disappointed exhale. Jin asks the hunter why she's going so far just to join the guild as she looks away. He explains that it's only an entrance test for a nameless guild, and it's not worth risking her life over. "So why are you going so far?" he says. She looks at the floor and Jin questions if she's just going to sit there quietly again. What could it be? Jin thinks. Perhaps you're interested in me? Cha sits blank before realizing what he just said, and while he tries to piece together what it is, she responds, "Yes, I think so." Jin Woo rises again. At the United States Hunter Bureau, Michael Connor and Norma Selner bow their heads and apologize to the director for not being able to flip Jin Woo. However, David Brennan says he didn't call them there for an apology and wants a breakdown of what happened. Michael explains that according to Selner's observation, Sung Jin Woo is a king. This revelation shocks the director, who questions if this means Jin has the power of a national-level hunter. Selner elaborates that awakened individuals draw their power from the other side, and she can sense this connection they have with it. Sometimes the power from the other side is so strong that the awakened appear to be covered in a brilliant light. Those people are called kings. However, for Jin, there was no such connection. When she looked into his eyes, the darkness inside stared back. He was darkness itself. David questions if she's implying that Jin Woo is evil, but Selner clarifies that she's not judging his morality, only explaining the source of his power. She emphasizes that Jin doesn't borrow his power from the other side, but from within himself. Thus, he has no limitations. Michael clarifies that there is no limit to Jin's power, and Selner nods in agreement. In this moment, the director gets up and thanks Lady Selner as Michael questions where he's going. "Floor B24, David says, instructing the deputy director to follow. In the elevator, David discusses their next steps, noting that if they can't leverage Norma Selner's power, they'll need to find another way to gain Jin Woo's cooperation. He asks if Michael recalls the first S-rank gate incident. Of course, he responds. The terrible dungeon break that caused the destruction that devastated the western U.S. Of the world's best hunters that the U.S. gathered only by offering a huge reward, only 5 survived. The U.S. gave these 5 the authority rivaling that of a nation, David continues, mentioning the inextinguishable flame, the dragon Kamish, a single beast that massacred countless top-class hunters. He asks Michael if he'd believe that such a horror left behind a gift. He types the code, and the door hisses open before he announces, "Look," revealing a rune stone that was found in Kamish's corpse that's now been around for 8 years since the Kamish raid. Since there were no mages among the national-level hunters, the rune stone has been waiting for its rightful owner in this basement. The director declares that Kamish will once again bestow a valuable gift upon the country. The scene opens with Jin Woo in his apartment, standing before a mirror, analyzing his reflection. He notices how much his appearance has changed since his awakening. He's taller, more fit, and seemingly healthier. He mutters to himself, wondering if the buff, the will to survive, could have improved his skin. To confirm, Jin Woo calls out to his sister, "Hey, Gina, how would you rate me?" Caught off guard, Gina frowns, asking, "In terms of what?" "In terms of my attractiveness," Jin Woo clarifies. Gina, unimpressed, responds, "Where the heck is that confidence coming from?" Annoyed by her answer, Jin Woo playfully grabs her head, but she simply retorts, "In my eyes, you just look like a bum." Switching the subject, Jin Woo mentions his plans to form a guild. Gina teases, "Oh? So you're the big boss now?" "Yeah, if it all goes well," Jin Woo replies confidently. He then asks her opinion on naming the guild. Solo Play Guild. Gina immediately rejects it, pointing out, "You summon shadow soldiers. You're not a solo player." When Jin Woo asks for a suggestion, Gina lights up and proposes Ajin Guild. She explains, "It means I go forward and it's also my name backward." Jin Woo nods, approving of the idea. Meanwhile, at Cha Hai-in's house, a loud yell breaks the silence. Flustered, she buries her face in her pillow, replaying her accidental confession to Jin Woo. "He probably thinks I'm crazy," she groans, trying to justify her feelings. "But he did save my life, so it's okay to like him." Suddenly, a memory from the Jeju Island raid resurfaces, a faint voice in her dream saying, "Tell him." Tell Hunter Sung Jin Woo to be careful of the powers within him. The shadowed figure becomes clearer. It's Min Byung-gu. Cha jolts awake, realization dawning on her. "I remember now. I saw Min Byung-gu." The chapter ends with this revelation. The Knights Guild struggles to get permission to enter a gate because the association's measurement came back a little too high. Park Jong-soo questions if it's an S-rank gate, and Jung Yoon-tae tells him it's not. However, it is of the highest measurement for an A-rank gate. Jong-soo comments on how that's a pain in the ass, as they could all die in there if they aren't careful. Yoon-tae adds that they could give it up if it was an S-rank. However, because it's only an A-rank, rumors would spread about how one of the top 5 guilds can't even clear an A-rank gate. The problem is, ordinary people think that gates with the same rank are all identical. In this moment, Yoon-tae says that if they give up on it, then the guys from the Fame Guild would claim it. Jong-soo freaks out at the idea of giving a gate in their own front yard to Ma Dong-wook, as Yoon-tae fearfully responds that he was just saying. In terms of quality and quantity, the Knights Guild's A-rank hunters are the same as the other major guilds. It's just that missing that one S-ranker makes a huge difference. Young Ye-rim chimes in that they could enter with another guild, but the guild master says that if they agree to cooperate out of uncertainty for the gate, other guilds will sense the danger and pull back too. This is when the A-rank healer suggests they bring in one person rather than an entire guild. Park asks how a single person could help when they are going into one of the most difficult A-rank gates when a light bulb goes off, and Ye-rim says, "You know who, right?" To which the guild master says yes, the hunter Sung Jin Woo. It'd be dishonor working with other guilds. However, with Jin Woo, it might bring them some recognition instead, and the chances of them completing the gate safely rise exponentially. Jong-soo asks what he's doing these days. Yoon-tae responds that aside from when he cleared a gate that spawned on a road recently, there hasn't been any news. Yoon-tae asks if he should try to get his contact information, but Park declines as he says it's not proper to handle such an important matter with a phone call. Back at Jin's office, he asks about the guild name Ajin, and Jin Ho tells him it's great and they should use that, as he thinks anything but solo play. Then the guild name is decided, Jin says. The only thing left is getting another founding member. Jin Ho asks about Cha Hai-in. Jin responds that he doesn't think she'll work and isn't the person he wants. Jin Ho thinks about how she's an S rank, young, accomplished, and beautiful, questioning if there could be anyone better. He asks what kind of person Jin wants then, and Jin responds with a pinch of uncertainty, someone with a hunter license who has no interest in guild activity and is trustworthy. In this moment, there are knocks at the door, as Jin Ho thinks that there are a few people that come to mind. Jin opens the door, asking who it is, hoping it's not Hunter Cha again. Ye-rim, Jong-soo, and Yoon-tae all nervously grin as Park Jong-soo introduces himself as the guild master of the Knights Guild, and this arc continues. Follow for more. In solo leveling, Jin watches footage of a large A-rank gate that appeared while Park Jong-soo explains that the physical size of a gate and its rank don't always match. However, there is an immense amount of mana flowing out of the gate. Jin asks if it was determined to be an S rank, and Jong-soo responds that it's just narrowly within an A rank's measuring limit. He adds that it's the largest gate to ever spawn in Busan. This makes Jin think about meeting up with Lee Ju-hee in Busan to get some sushi, while Jong-soo explains that the association is trying to deny them entry because because of their lack of an S-rank hunter. He says that if Jin joins their attack force, they will be able to take care of the raid, and he will be well compensated. Normally, S-rank hunters get around 10% of the profit from a raid, but he's offering Jin 20% for this dungeon. Let's do 50-50, Jin responds. This catches the guild master off guard. Jin says that he is to be treated as a guild and not an individual, adding that they've just established the Ajin Guild. Jong-soo tries to negotiate for a 60-40 cut, but Jin quickly shuts that down. Park Jong-soo comments in his mind on how Jin looks young but is rather unusual. Very well, then would you take care of the boss-level monsters? Jong-soo replies. Jin agrees, and the Knights Guild Master tells him that it's been almost a week since the gate was discovered, so they'll need to start the raid tomorrow. He invites Jin to join him in his car. However, Jin declines as he has some business to take care of tonight. Stepping away, saying, "Regardless, I won't be late," as Yoon Tae notices something. He questions if Park Jong-soo just saw Jin's shadow move, but he dismisses it, questioning if Yoon Tae's been drinking. In this moment, Jin's phone rings with an anonymous number, so he excuses himself to take it. He steps out, answering the call, but it turns out to be his mom, who's just bought a cell phone. She tells her son that she just wanted to hear his voice and apologizes if she's interrupted anything. "Not at all," Jin replies, before inviting her to dinner together tonight, to which she happily agrees. The next day, in Gwangnali, Busan, the Knights Guild hunters all stand around waiting for the raid to start. Jong-soo is slightly annoyed, saying they should have made Jin come with them yesterday, hoping he's not going to be late, as they're starting in 5 minutes. At the same time, Jin observes the bad weather, wondering if Jin Ah brought her umbrella today before using shadow exchange. Meanwhile, at school, 3 students walk the halls complaining about the art teacher making them go get supplies. How many plaster figures do we need to bring? There are 6 groups, so probably 6. Even if we take one, we'll have to make a second trip, then take 4. One of the boys complains about the dust and questions when the last time this place was used, and another answers that it probably hasn't been used all semester. In this moment, a boy grows nervous as he notices a gate in the back of the room. His classmate walks to the gate and asks what he's so afraid of, since closed gates are completely safe. Only hunters can go in, but nothing inside can come out, adding that it'll take about a week for the gate to open. "Didn't you say this room was left unattended for the entire semester? It's just being found now?" Suddenly, the gate cracks, and a green hand grabs the student by his head and lifts him in the air as he wiggles around. He screams for his friend's help while the hand squishes tighter. The students stand frozen in terror as their classmate they were just chatting with is dead and monsters begin to appear through the gate. Some blood splatter later and all 3 boys are dead. Orcs walk through the gate, and we learn that they are naturally gifted hunters. Although they lack intelligence, they far exceed humans in tracking and hunting. These hunters were greatly excited by the smell of flesh and blood, but being only scouts, they suppressed their instincts and prioritized their mission. They hid in the darkness for a week, their 6th sense alerting them before they even found their prey. "This place is full of prey," one orc says, noting the complexity of their surroundings and comparing it to that of a castle. The orc declares that they will begin the hunt and instructs its companion to call for their brothers. He bursts through the doorway announcing that they will massacre all the humans in this castle and then fortify their position before the real hunt begins. "First, we'll completely clear this place out," he says, eyeing the students in the hall. A boy gives a girl a drink before they both hear a thud and look over to see a green monster with an axe flying at them. While at the gate, Jin comments on how much bigger it is in person. He points out the collection team, the mining team, and the assault team, which is comprised of 13 A ranks and 20 B ranks. Jin walks through the crowd, surprised by how many A rank hunters they have. A voice says. Hunters swarm Jin with questions, and a woman suggests that Jin will be taking the lead on the raid today. Quickly, Jong Ye-rim steps in, questioning why they're making Hunter Sung feel awkward. She introduces herself as the main healer of the Knights Guild assault team, and says that the raid leader and the main healer should be on the same page. Jin turns his head and tells Park Jong-soo that he hasn't explained yet, to which he responds that he can do it now. He begins by announcing that he will be leading the raid today. The other hunters stand disappointed as the guild master tells them that Jin will be in charge of the rear, making sure that they are safe. "Are we so weak that we need someone else's protection?" a hunter asks, wondering if the elite members of the Knights Guild look that weak to Mr. Sung Jin. Jin Woo. Park Jong-soo comments that his members are pretty gutsy and says that it might have been a little rude, but they usually have this kind of atmosphere. Jin says it just means they're confident. Jong-soo looks at his phone and says they should get going as the raid begins. A student frantically calls the Hunters Association emergency hotline, reporting that there are monsters outside of their school. The worker on the other end asks, "Where are you calling from?" The girl, covered in blood and shaking with fear, replies, "I'm hiding in the bathroom." Tears stream down her face and she trembles as she continues, "I was with my friend, but my friend..." "How many monsters are there? Are they nearby?" The girl shakily responds that she doesn't know. "I hear too many screams." She sobs while asking if she's going to die. The worker tries to soothe her, telling the girl that hunters are on their way right now. "Our hunters would never abandon you students, so you need to stay calm until the end. Do you understand?" More screams echo in the background as the girl says, "Really? Am I going to live?" Desperate to gather more information, the worker asks, "Do you know what kind of monsters they are?" The girl hesitates. Yes, I saw them on TV," but she can't put her finger on what they were. The worker urges, "Describe them. What kind of monster? What do they look like?" The girl stammers, "Their bodies are human-like, but their faces are ugly. They're green. They have green skin." The realization hits the worker, and she questions if they are orcs. Yes, that's what it was. Orc. At that moment, an orc arrives at the bathroom. The worker's voice, rising in urgency, warns, "Get away from there! Quick! Orcs can smell!" The girl's phone falls to the ground as she screams for help. "I don't want to die!" Her cries pierce through the phone as the worker sits paralyzed, listening to the girl's last screams for help. Students scream and run as blood bathes the walls. They flee off the school grounds as a girl cries out that her friends are still inside while a boy drags her away, saying the hunters will take care of it. Blood drips from their battle axes as an orc states his dissatisfaction with losing half of their prey. Another orc reassures him, saying there are still many left since they blocked the escape paths. "We'll go up another floor and kill them all." On the next floor, students huddle in a barricaded classroom as two boys nervously stand guard. Suddenly, the barricade crashes down, and the students scream as a bloody orc walks through. In a desperate scramble, a student runs to the other barricade across the room. However, an orc lying in wait slashes its axe at the boy, cutting him down. More orcs arrive, and Baldy tells his booze that there is a human here with magic energy. The boss responds, "Kill that one first." It is revealed that Jinna and Han Song-yi stand at the back of the classroom, terrified as Jinna prays for her brother. Jinna screams, "You can't!" while she pulls her friend. However, Han Song-yi stands bravely, reassuring Jinna, "I'm awakened too, even though I'm only an E rank." "Is it that human?" an orc asks, to which his pal says no, commenting that there is a greater magical energy source as he looks towards Jinna. "It's that woman! Die!" he says while slashing at the girls. Terrified, they close their eyes and brace themselves when suddenly one of Daddy Woo's shadow soldiers appears from her shadow gorilla gripping the orc's arm. Tearfully, she questions if Daddy's home as the shadow soldier with eyes on the back of his head loads a punch before uppercutting the green orc so hard he sends it rocketing through the school's roof. The other orc is shocked as three high orc shadows stand guard in front of Jinna. Back in the dungeon, Park Jong-soo yells as a twin-headed ogre rounds the corner. The hideous monster roars while swinging its axe, and in this moment, Jong-soo activates his ability, clashing his forearms together to create a shield as the ogre's blade scrapes the ground before colliding with it. While he defends against the ogre's blade, he signals Yoon Tai, who skitters up the monster's weapon and slashes its eyes before calling on Nunas and Hyungs to deal damage. The pair run at the creature and slash its arms off before two mages cast spells, electrocuting and burning it, absolutely cooking the monster. As the ogre finishes cooking, Jong-soo instructs everyone to regroup before moving on. He says that as expected, the raid won't be easy. A twin-headed ogre from the start. "Do you know what twin-headed ogres are known as?" he asks Jin Woo. "Gravekeepers," the Shadow Master responds. "Correct," adding that it's no problem when it's the boss, but if it appears at the entrance, the dungeon will consist of the undead. Yoontae yells that Jong jinxed it and questions if they should keep going. However, the army of dead just stands there, causing the hunters to question if they're acting weird since they usually attack on sight. Someone asks if it looks like they're being chased by something, as Jin Woo stands disappointed since he expected the hardest A-rank dungeon. In this moment, Jin is struck by a feeling, questioning, "This feeling, it can't be." He then tells the guildmaster that he has to leave as there's an urgent matter to take care of. Park Jong-soo questions this, explaining that it could be dangerous for them if he leaves. Jin responds saying he'll call someone they can trust as much as him and that he'll take care of things from here. The hunters, utterly shocked and in disbelief, question if that's one of the ants from Jeju Island. Jin says that since he recognizes it, there's no need to explain, adding that he'll take Jin's place. Protect the humans, Jin orders. Beru questions what he should do with the non-humans, and his master tells the ant to do as he pleases. Beru screeches, and this arc continues. Follow for more. In solo leveling, after Jin summons Beru to take his place in the raid, the special ant screeches, causing the hunters to question how they're supposed to raid with such a monster. Jin then summons 20 more ant soldiers to help before attempting to dip out of there. However, Jong-soo and Ye-rim stop him, questioning if he's really just leaving after letting those monsters loose. Annoyed, Jin looks back, saying, "I can recall them before I leave if you'd prefer, but you would be better off with them." Jong-soo shivers and reluctantly agrees. That's true. Jin Woo checks his shadow exchange cooldown, but realizes it's still got an hour and 40 minutes. "Damn! Why at a time like this?" Jin says before blasting off. Jong-soo stands unamused and nervous as Yoon-tae asks what they should do. "Wait a sec, let me think." While Jin blasts through the chambers, he grows more concerned as he's getting constant signals from the soldiers with Jin-ah. The undead block his path, and he angrily grits his teeth. "Don't get in my way," he says, pulling out his daggers. However, the undead kneel before Jin, causing him to question what's going on. He chalks it up to being a higher-class necromancer than what currently controls the dead and jumps into the air, summoning Kaisel as he crosses through the gate. On the outside, civilians watch in awe as Jin's shadow wyvern flies through the sky. "To my sister! Full speed!" he orders the wyvern. The shadow-high orcs brutally chop a green orc in half, terrifying the students, while one of Jinna's shadow guards gorilla grips two of them by the head and smashes them into the floor simultaneously. As the green orcs lay there, smashed and dismembered, the students are left in shock, still trying to process the fact that these monsters just saved them. "They're protecting us?" a student asks. Jinna looks at the orc shadow soldier, wondering if it's Daddy Woo's, and begins calling for him while walking forward. However, the shadow stops her and points forward to the many more orcs approaching. The gate finishes cracking and the final restraints have been lifted, as Guroktaru, chief Tan of the Red Blade tribe, announces that nothing can stop him now. One of his tribesmen informs him that 3 high orc warriors are helping the humans, and he is insulted at the thought of his great orc warriors not being able to handle 3 high orcs. "Pathetic. Lead the way," he says while grabbing his sword. It's time for slaughter. Back in the dungeon, the ants crawl the walls and screech, making the hunters really nervous and even want out of the dungeon. Yoon-tae calls on Jong-soo, but he refuses to stop as there'll be no way to deal with the reporters outside. "Yeah, we can't stop just because we're afraid of some summons. Let's keep going," he says with forced confidence. Suddenly, Beru appears in front of the guildmaster, sending chills down his spine. Let's go," he says nervously. Smiling, he asks, "Should we go?" In an instant, Beru vanishes, and Jong only has time to look over before the ant reappears right in front of the hunter, scaring him to the ground. Beru then throws something at Jong-soo's feet and turns around, walking away with the other ants. The guild members rush to Jong's side to check if he's okay and ask if they should follow the monsters. "First, take a look at this," he says, as they all look at the head of a Death Knight, one of the highest-ranked monsters, killed in an instant. "To think they're this strong," Jong-soo remarks, before commenting on the value of magic cores from high-ranked dungeons, and asks if they still want to quit. Before he knew it, his attack force was already moving on without him. "Young, how long are you going to stay there?" Yoon-tae calls out. In solo leveling, the high orc shadow soldier gets his arm chopped off, forcing him to take a knee. The Red Blade tribesmen chant Guroktaru's name as he explains that an orc's tattoos symbolize battles won and enemies slain. "You should have killed quite a few," he says to the high orc. "But is that all?" Guroktaru demands, "Keep me entertained," as he slashes his blade at the downed shadow soldier. One of the other shadows blocks it, causing Guroktaru to compliment the high orc while his hand trembles from the clash of blades. "But you have no chance," he yells, swiping the orc shadow right in half. However, the orc stays standing and regenerates, causing the chieftain to question if it's some sort of spell, as no matter how many times he cuts through them, nothing changes. He thinks about how he can kill them 100 or even 1,000 times. "But kill! Kill, 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 kill all humans! He holds his head in pain, saying he needs to finish this as it's getting worse over time. If they're moving because of magic, I just need to take care of their controller, he thinks while looking at Jin Ah. You? The girl! He yells, pointing out Jin Ah and telling his tribesmen to grab her. High orcs are powerless while they regenerate. Keep attacking and restrict their movements, he commands. The orcs take down one shadow and stab into the next. Jin Ah, it's dangerous, Song Yi yells. In this moment, the chieftain clenches Jin Ah by the face and picks her up, clearly able to sense her magic power. He snarls. As I suspected, it was you. He squeezes tighter. Die! Suddenly, he senses something. As it gets closer, he begins trembling and drops Jin Ah. Song Yi rushes to Jin Ah to see if she's okay when they all look up. The chieftain begins chattering his teeth out of fear. Something is coming. Something terrifying. Brace for impact, he yells to his tribesmen. The crash downs his men and he narrowly dodges. Jin Ah coughs, and in this moment, Jin pats her on the head, reassuring her that she's safe now. Guruk Taru stands there as the dust settles and looks in fear as the building crumbles, revealing Kaisel and an aura-filled Jin Woo. Jin stands there, and the chieftain tries to introduce himself when Jin interrupts, pointing his finger. You? Shut up and wait. After Jin Woo tells the orc chieftain to wait, he hugs his sister, reassuring her that it's all right and apologizes for being late. He then asks the students if they're okay, to which they respond affirmatively. He checks on Song Yi as well, and she confirms, though she notes that Jin's mood feels pretty scary. Jin Woo looks down at Jinna's bruised face and grows furious. He tells Igris to take care of her, and instructs his other shadow soldiers to take the students and head down first. In this moment, an orc squirms in place. I said don't move, Jin says to the orcs. One at a time, the students plop down Kaisel's body to the floor. Guruk Taru realizes the immortal soldiers were Jin's and questions, who are you and why are you able to speak our tongue? The acrimonious brother just stands there. The chieftain realizes that Jin has no intention of answering and orders his orcs to attack. 3 orcs lead the charge against Jin. The first slashes its blade towards the hunter, but Jin grabs the orc's fingers and crushes them, causing the orc to cry out in pain. Still with fingers in hand, Jin twirls the orc around and smashes it into the floor before raising his knee and stomping the monster's head in. 2 more orcs attack simultaneously, but Jin uses his Dominator's touch ability, smashing the orcs' backs together before, with the coldest face, crushing them, imploding the orcs into each other. The rest of the Red Blade tribe roars and charges at Jin Woo. However, he blitzes through them, taking chunks of each of their bodies with only his bare hands. As their corpses fall and he gets closer to the chieftain, the orc warrior questions what he just saw. Jin grabs the orc's face while using Dominator's touch and smashes it against the wall. The irate Jin Woo glances to the left and the right, only to see dead kids in the halls. He asks, "Why'd you do it?" and questions why his kind wants to kill humans to such an extreme level. With a squished face, it responds, "In our heads constantly. Kill the humans." He questions if the orc hears that voice for him, but it only begs for forgiveness. Jin demands it answer him, but the orc keeps begging for forgiveness while tears well in its eyes. "I see," Jin says, realizing that he's not considered human in their thoughts either. "Well, it doesn't really matter. I'll forgive you, but don't think it will be a painless one for you." Back in the dungeon, Yerim pulls on some cloth, questioning, "Don't you know how expensive that is?" and tells the ant that vampires are very expensive and not for eating. In this moment, the ant smacks the hunter, cutting her shoulder and dropping her to the ground before eating the rest of the vampire right in front of her. This is when Beru appears, giving the soldier ant a scare and holding his arm above the hunter, surprising her with healing magic. The ants walk away as the healer questions how a summon could cast healing magic better than herself. They arrive at the boss's chamber to see the lich floating above its Death Knight guards. This frightens the hunters, as among the many bosses, the lich is famous for the Golden Dragon Guild's annihilation. One of China's top guilds was destroyed by the boss, causing a dungeon break. Thanks to Liu Drugang, it didn't turn into a catastrophe, but it's impossible for any normal A-ranker to defeat it. Yuntai questions what they should do when suddenly a hunter yells, "They're coming from the rear as well!" They realize that the undead that weren't eaten by the ants came back to life, and Jong-soo yells for Ye-rim to block the door. Ye-rim uses her skill Holy Wall. Jong-soo notes the dilemma and understands why this is an A-rank dungeon of the highest difficulty. Guildmaster, I won't be able to hold this for more than 5 minutes, Ye-rim says while holding the barrier. Damn it, Jong remarks. In this moment, he looks over, hearing a screech, and sees Beru. The Arch-Lich realizes they are the Shadow Army and questions why the Shadow Monarch's personal army is attacking them. Beru responds, saying that they have been chosen by the Monarch and he hasn't. Refusing to believe, the Arch-Lich says he will personally report to the Monarch. But Beru zooms in front of the monster, shoving his arm in its chest, saying, "You talk way too much for someone who's about to die." After Beru shoves his arm in the Arch-Lich's chest, the monster falls and crashes into the ground. Beru then rips the orb from its chest and crushes it, turning the monster into mist. In that moment, the souls of all the undead evaporate, and they drop to the ground. The hunters are surprised, wondering how it could kill the Arch-Lich in one hit, and noting that all the undead are down as well. Beru screeches, and Jong-soo says he knew the creature was strong, but to be this strong. This is when Yoon-tae comments that if they're this strong, Jin Woo doesn't even need to enter a dungeon and can still clear it just by sending summons. Jong-soo pieces together that a huge amount of magical energy must be drained for controlling so many summons, so Jin might not be able to use them all at once. But with even half as many summons as the ones in the dungeon, his power is much stronger than any large guild in South Korea. Yoon-tae recommends they push for a merge with their guild and Jin Woo's guild. Jong-soo tells him to get it straight and refer to it as an alliance. The new guild, created by the best hunter and one of the 5 major guilds in the country, the Night Order, are pushing for an alliance. Doesn't that sound nice? Yoon-tae questions if he really wants to do it since Jin obviously doesn't need their help. Jong-soo responds that Jin can't bend the law for guild activities just because of who he is. Yoon-tae questions this, and the guild master clarifies that even if it's possible for Jin's summons to clear dungeons, he still needs to fill up the minimum headcount for a raid team. The swordsman understands, noting that they will be the supporting force and Hunter Sung will be the manpower. But wouldn't it be like leeching off of him? Jong-soo clarifies that they'll be providing support. On a sad day in solo leveling, association members block the scene as EMTs get to work. A woman runs through the crowd saying she needs to confirm it with her own eyes. Her son goes to this school. She wails at the sight of her child's dead body. Someone asks if there are any more survivors, and the hunter in the school confirms there are not. While this situation continues, in a car, Chairman Go Gun-hee confirms that the 213 students who escaped at the beginning are all safe, but only 10 more were saved. The rest who failed to escape are all gone. He hands his phone to Jin Woo, saying that the accident could have been predicted and prevented. He explains that the phone shows the increase in gate activity in Seoul over the last 6 months, as well as the worldwide stats of the increasing number of gates. The number of gates appearing has spiked noticeably throughout the world. However, at the same time, more people want to confirm their awakened ranking, and as more monsters appear from the gates, the number of hunters who can block the gates is also increasing, as if to maintain balance, Jin thinks. Something is starting to change. Jin asks what it was that the chairman wanted to talk to him about, and the chairman gives him official documents of all the nations wanting to make contact with Hunter Sung Jin Woo, certain that some of them have already made unofficial contact. Go Gun-hee says that the association has no right to block these people and can only protect Jin's personal information at his request, but he fears that South Korea won't be able to adapt to the incoming changes if Jin decides to leave. They arrive at his sister's hospital. As Jin exits the vehicle, the chairman calls out to him, saying that they will provide him with everything within their power, and asks if he would stay in South Korea. He explains that officially there were 10 S-rank hunters, including Jin Woo, but 3 were lost as 2 died in the Jeju raids and 1 abandoned Korea for America. He says that the association can't afford to be hands-off anymore and will do everything possible to play its part. He then asks Jin what it is he needs. If that's the case, would you let me enter high-ranking gates by myself in the future? Chairman Go asks if he's wanting to be excluded from the minimum headcount rule. Jin Woo confirms this. The chairman explains that the minimum headcount rule is the minimum safety net for hunters to prevent them from entering dungeons without preparation and losing their lives. Are you asking me to remove remove it for you? Suddenly, he flinches, realizing and asking Jin if that's why he made the guild. Jin confirms this and asks if it'll be difficult to fulfill such a request. A one-man army, Go-Gun-Hee thinks, and tells Jin that it's not impossible. Just leave it to me. In solo leveling, a woman's phone rings as the director tells her she did good work today. On the other line, Jin Ho excitedly calls his Nuna and asks if she wants to join their guild. He explains that instead of being trapped and acting like a public relations person for his father's guild, she can put her name on his guild's employee list and do whatever she wants. The baddie Nuna questions what he's talking about so suddenly and asks if he knows about Jin Hui coming back into town. Jin Ho says of course he knows about his sister's work and adds that they're short of one founding member for the guild. She questions if he's asking her to join a guild that isn't even created yet and asks if he's being swindled by some shady person. Jin Ho laughs, remarking if she only knew who the shady person was, she'd be shocked. Who is it? She asks. At the Ajin Guild office, Jin Woo asks if this is the third person Jin Ho was talking about, and Jin Ho introduces his cousin Yu Soo-hyun, a full-time baddie and part-time A-rank hunter. She is shocked to be in front of the real Sung Jin Woo. Jin Ho asks what's so cool as she is literally a celebrity, while Jin Woo questions if she's really an A-rank hunter. She responds that she gets to meet the hunter that ruined Lee Min-sung's press interview and immediately disappeared. Jin Ho asks if she's getting excited by the wrong thing here. Drippy Jin Woo sits down, thinking about how his vice guildmaster is a D-rank hunter while his cousin is an A-rank, and wonders if there's some sort of condition to be awakened passed through genes. He concludes that there are cases where siblings are awakened together, and his father was a hunter as well. He asks if Jin Ho gave her all the nitty-gritty, and she responds that he said they were missing a founding member. The guildmaster says that if she joins their guild, there may be various news articles about her and asks if that'll be all right. She responds that it's still better than getting mixed up with Yu Jin Sung. Jin Woo questions this, and Jin Ho clarifies that it's his brother. Jin Woo asks if it's the brother with the bad personality and states that he seems to already be famous. This is when Soo-hyun gets Jin Woo's attention and asks if they can take a selfie so she can upload it to her SNS profile. A man questions, "Do you even know what you're talking about?" He states that it's ludicrous to count summons as members of a raid team. He continues, saying that Jin has barely finished creating his guild, and this nonsensical regulation has been created. He questions, if this isn't preferential treatment, then what is? He argues that the association should be fair, but they're helping out Hunter Sung Jin Woo, and asks Association President Go-Gun-Hee to say something. Yes, that is true. Go-Gun-Hee mutters, this is preferential treatment. People whisper as Gun-Hee announces that he'd like to ask everyone a question. If you were to accompany an assault team of 20 A-rank hunters or a team comprising of only Hunter Sung Jin Woo on a dungeon break, which team would you choose? Chairman Go then mentions member Nam Jun Wook, who just moved to a new apartment building near the Hunters Guild, where the cost of housing is several times more expensive than his previous apartment, and asks why he would do such a thing. The honorable member nervously coughs, saying that it's not related, but Go-Gun-Hee continues, stating that he just wants the best for his own safety, and the citizens of Korea all feel the same. He explains that many countries are hell-bent on stealing away Hunter Sung Jin Woo for themselves, and asks if he really expects Jin to stay if they can't even fulfill one of his requirements. I'm asking if you want to see the incident of Hwang Dong-soo abandoning us for America happen all over again with Sung Jin Woo. If you believe this regulation is unreasonable when there is another S-rank gate in Korea, I hope you are aware who Jin Ho is blown away by the size of a gate. Jin Woo comments on how he would have reacted if he saw the other gate in Busan. This is when Jin turns and is surrounded by reporters asking all sorts of questions. Woo Jin-chul appears, and the guildmaster questions the security of his personal information. Jin-chul responds that although they can protect his personal information, they can't do much about the gate location. He tells Jin Woo it might be better to not post a picture on SNS next time. The vice guildmaster asks Jin if it's really okay to not have any retrieval or mining teams because he doesn't think he can do it all himself, but Jin says it'll be alright because his shadows can handle it all. Jin-chul scans the summons and is shocked as all of Jin's summons are B rank or higher. He comments that Jin Woo easily exceeds the requirements for earning a raid permit and that people arguing over preferential treatment are simply idiots. As he finishes the confirmation, he takes off his jacket and shocks the two guild leaders as he stands in shiny armor, saying that the association president asked him to find find out if it's really safe during Jin Woo's raids. Hunter Sung asks the chief of surveillance if he's sure about this. He stands dumbfounded and a little later is nervous and shocked as Jin Woo's Shadow Knight stab through an A-rank Naga. At the same time, Tank swipes one's head off while Iron roars and the ants tear them apart. A high Orc shadow stabs through another. Even veteran mage type and close combat hunters would have a difficult time. The enemy is losing because the Shadow Army is constantly regenerating, Jin Chul thinks, especially that summon. He thinks while looking at Igris. Our favorite knight slashes his blade, sending lightning crackling through the air. He notes that only mages with a large amount of magical energy can control lightning, but lightning shoots out every time Igris swings his sword. Igris crackles with the lightning right through the Nagas and slices them all up before they all blow the fuck up. Jin Chul tries to place a rank on the shadow and questions if he could win if he fought with it one-on-one. In this moment, an ant munches on a Naga's head and Jin kicks the shadow soldier into the roof, telling it not to eat that. Do you know how much monster corpses are worth? He also tells his mining team not to slack off while pulling those magic crystals. Wu Jin Chul says he now understands why the chairman wanted him to observe Jin Woo, as he's capable of not only clearing an A-rank dungeon, but retrieving monster corpses and mining magic crystals all by himself. This arc continues for not much longer. The massive, slithering dragon boss appears. Jin Woo cancels all of his summons except for those working, and they return to his shadow. The supervisor asks why he canceled his remaining summons, as they were strong enough to defeat the boss. Jin Woo pulls out his daggers while replying that if he relies on his shadows too much, his skills would get rusty. He then sprints up the monster's body and jumps, slashing the sea snake's head. Jin Chul is in absolute awe as the A-rank dungeon boss has been taken down in one hit. In this moment, Jin Woo raises his level to 101. His reward is the single leveling up of all of his job-specific skills, bringing Shadow Exchange's cooldown time down by 1 hour. This makes Jin think of what might happen if he levels it up further, and how regardless of where he is in the world, he wouldn't have to worry about his family. Jin Chul notes how hard the scales of a Naga are, as they can be used to create armor and shields, but with just 2 daggers, Jin Woo got the job done. He looks over, alarmed, to see Jin standing at the boss's body saying, "Arise!" He gets an alert that the monarch's voice has aroused the fighting spirit of the deceased, and the shadow is automatically upgraded to level 13. Glad to see this. Jin thinks that its rank is the same as Tusk's, but level 13 and its power is close to its live counterpart. However, it has shrunk a lot, he says. Shadows usually stay the same size or get bigger. If it's able to enlarge itself with magic, this may be its normal size. The Shadow Master must pick a name, as the monster is ranked Elite Knight and chooses the name Jima. Jinho is glad that he was able to turn the strong monster into his summon when suddenly the cave crumbles and he alerts the guild master that it's time to leave the gate. Then as for this corpse, Jin thinks while looking at the boss's body. Outside, the reporters are stunned and unsure what to think as Tusk walks through the gate with the Naga boss corpse on his shoulder. While taking pictures, Tusk gets flattered and smiles. As the hunters leave the gate, they realize there are more reporters than before. After Jin Woo comments about his first guild raid being the cause, a flabbergasted and drained Wu Jin Chul says, "That's all." Chairman Go is surprised and says that even though Jin Chul has witnessed countless raids in the past, after listening to what happened, any veteran would be surprised. "That was not a raid. What I saw was a one-sided massacre," Jin Chul says. Gunhee tells him to go get some rest and the supervisor takes his leave. Chairman Go Gunhee stands at his window and thinks that to call Jin Woo a one-man raid team is an understatement. One-man guild. He smiles, saying his eyes did not betray him when he first saw Jin Woo. Korea. No, the world's hunter list will soon be turned upside down. In Tokyo, Japan, the wind whirls and the sky turns. People look up in fear and shock as an absolutely, undoubtedly, unbelievably large gate appears.